50 years, 50 letters, one promise. American veteran reunites with Vietnamese girl he loved. 50 years ago, just before boarding the plane back home, the young American soldier stopped at the post office and bought 50 letters to give to the Vietnamese girl, along with a promise to return. Once I've gotten all 50 letters you write me, I'll come back to you. But the 50 letters came and went, and the promise stayed unkept, leaving an ache in the Vietnamese girl's heart and tears on the day they said goodbye. 50 years later, in 2019, that American soldier finally set foot in Vietnam again. The same soil where their love had first taken root, to find the girl from long ago and keep a promise that was half a century late. Ken Reesing, a 72-year-old American veteran, posted a letter on social media asking the Vietnamese community in Vietnam to help him track down a girlfriend he'd lost touch with decades ago. Thanks to shares across the internet, Ken soon found Thuy Lan, whose birth name is Vu Thi Vinh, living in a modest one-story house tucked down a narrow alley off Phan Dinh Phung Street in Ton Ben Ward, Bien Hoa, Dong Nai Province. These days, she and her daughter make a living selling plain rice porridge. People who hear their story often say it sounds like something straight out of a movie. If it wasn't meant to be, how else could they find each other again so fast? 50 years, 50 letters, one promise. Let's rewind 50 years to 1968. Back then, Thuy Lan, born Vu Thi Vinh, was just 17, with long black hair, sun-kissed Asian skin, and a smile that lit up the room. Ken, on the other hand, was a sharp 22-year-old. After 2 years in the service, he'd been sent to Vietnam to work at the U.S. Army's Data Services Center at Long Binh Base in Bien Hoa. One day, right before TED in 1969, Ken finished a shift and headed to the EM Club, a little bar on base, for a drink and some games. That's when he spotted Thuy Lan working behind the counter. It was love at first sight, but shy as he was, Ken could only steal glances from across the room. After that fateful meeting, every time Ken walked into the bar, he'd pick the seat closest to the stage just to get a better look at her while she worked. Ken still gets a little choked up talking about it. I couldn't take my eyes off her, but I was terrified she'd catch me staring. The second her eyes met mine, I pretend to look away. Thuy Lan noticed the lovesick soldier, too. She started returning his glances with a nod and that bright smile. Plenty of guys tried to get her attention, but none of them ever made her heart skip, except this one. Ken was her first love. Before long, stolen looks turned into something real. They became a couple. Ken couldn't leave the base, and Lan couldn't come inside the military compound, so they only saw each other on weekends, just outside the gates. Ken remembers, our dates were short. We just look at each other, hold hands. No birthdays, no addresses, nothing. Then, in September 1969, Ken got orders to leave the service 3 months earlier than expected and head back to college. I kept wishing time would freeze, he says, but it wouldn't. The young soldier, heart in knots, broke the news to his girl. In the days before goodbye, words failed them. They just leaned back to back, eyes red, letting the silence say everything. The young soldier finally broke the silence. Do you want to leave Vietnam? Lan just shook her head, eyes down. Then Ken tried again. Marry me. Come to America with me. Another shake of the head. In that moment, Ken knew it was impossible. He squeezed her hand like he could keep her from slipping away forever. The day came anyway. One day before leaving Long Binh, Ken went to the post office, bought 50 envelopes, numbered them 1 through 50 in the top right corner, and packed them neatly in a box. At the airfield, he handed it to Lan and said, "Once I get all 50 letters you write me, I'll come back for you." At the gate, he pulled her into the tightest hug. Ken recalls, voice catching. I held her, kissed her, she cried. I told myself I'd finish school and come get her. That moment's been burned in my mind for over 50 years. Half a world apart, Their only lifeline was those letters, passed through friends still at Long Bin. Ken says, I thought she'd write once a month, but she wrote every week. Every week, I got a letter from a buddy on base. Reading her words made me so happy. I just want to get back there, wrap my arms around her. But you know how hard that was. No addresses. The day Ken left Long Bin, the letters stopped. The promise never got the chance to become real. Lon later explained,
He'd send letters through friends on base. I'd reply to the base address. Never gave my home.
Ken says after U.S. troops pulled out, he hired private investigators, pros, but without her real name or exact address. They came up empty. Lon adds,
After liberation, my mother told me to burn everything, his letters, the photos. I was young. I listened.
In 1984, she married. 2 years later, she had a daughter. The marriage didn't last. Since 1993, she's raised her girl alone, selling plain rice porridge from a cart on a Bien Hoa street corner. Across the ocean, Ken never stopped thinking about his Vietnamese girl. He married too, but that fell apart. He's been divorced for years, living solo with a little cat. At first, he searched quietly, through friends, veteran groups, always careful not to disrupt her life if she'd moved on. This time, though, the search gave him hope. If it's fate, you'll find each other again. Ken's post spread like wildfire across the internet. A neighbor spotted the photo and thought, that looks exactly like Lon back in the day. She ran straight over to tell her. At first, Lon brushed it off. She said,
You've got the wrong person. My mom burned every picture, every letter. I don't have a single photo from back then.
Still, the memory of that American soldier she once loved flickered in her mind. All she could recall was his first name. No last name, no hometown, no age. Her daughter and grandkids, though, weren't taking any chances. They reached out to the poster. Maybe this was fate giving her a second shot. On June 9th, 2019, journalist Robert showed up at Land's doorstep to verify for Ken. There, for the first time in decades, she saw pictures of her younger self, handwritten notes, and her own signature on the back. Her sister-in-law pulled out a few old photos she'd secretly kept. Side by side, perfect match. Lon still couldn't believe it until Ken called. He sent photos of the two of them together, young and in love, and started recounting stories only they would know. That's when it hit her. This was real. Tears in her eyes, Lon said.
Over 50 years, I never thought he'd still remember me. The pictures I sent, he kept them all, not a tear, not a fade. I was shocked. I was overwhelmed.
Even at her age, Land's English came back like riding a bike. No language barrier. She laughs.
We were awkward at first. Now we talk every day about the old days, what we did today, who we saw, where we went.
Finally, they set a date, right here in Vietnam, the very place their love began. A hug after 50 years. In a memory-filled June of 2019, at Tan Son Nhut Airport, Lon stood in a traditional yellow ao dai, light makeup on, heart racing as she scanned the crowd for the love she hadn't seen in half a century. Family, grandkids, and friends gathered around, all hoping this single mom of decades would finally get her happy ending. Ken, after more than 24 hours in the air, stepped off the plane clutching a beautiful bouquet. Spotting her, he broke into a gentle smile and walked straight over. Lon ran to him. They crashed into each other's arms, crying, laughing, overwhelmed. She brushed her hand across his weathered face, like the years had never pulled them apart. Ken whispered in her ear, "I'm sorry it took me this long to keep my promise." Lon says Ken has 2 weeks in Vietnam. She'll take him to meet friends and family, play tour guide, show him her country. Ken says, "I wish I could stay longer, but work back home isn't finished." So for those 14 days, he wants every moment to count. Travel together, revisit old haunts, and even help her and her daughter sell rice porridge on the street. On the night of September 26, 2019, Lon walked him to the gate. They held on tight, traded soft goodbye kisses, reluctant to let go. She told him she'd visit the U.S., see his home, meet his people. They've talked about a wedding, but Lon says they need time to settle in. It's all still new. Ken, full of tenderness. I respect whatever she needs. She's older now, but still so beautiful, still young at heart. I'll wait. The moment she says yes, I'll marry her.